honorable if somebody, gets in your face to be in control. It's honorable to push an old man's truck up the road instead of just saying, I got better things to do. And see, government is trying to make it where police can't do things like that. All over the country, they've told police, it's come out in the news, don't respond to crime, go revenue generate. Don't help people, let them help themselves. Because they want the people separate from you. They want the people to see you as the enemy. Because they want us at each other's throats. When it's just common sense that what happens in society affects police. Your children go to the same schools as everybody else, same churches, same shopping malls, same shooting ranges, same lakes to go fishing. Do you want to live in a society with microphones in streetlights and they've now announced in hotel rooms saying, watch your neighbor, don't trust anybody, and the hotel guests may be terrorists, and it says paying with cash suspicious, and spy on people's bags in their rooms. I mean, this is beyond the Soviet Union. I mean, you really think we'll be safe? Look at the government at the top. They're a bunch of crooks. Only crooks set up governments like this, and people that work for the government have to ask themselves which side they're on. Stay with us. Big news coming up on Israel. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday, the 3rd day of November, 2011. We're going to be live here for the next 27 hours if you just joined us. I'm going to get into the economy. I'm going to get into U.S. news, world news. I'm going to get into the incredible announcements by the Israeli government that they are getting ready to strike Iran. And I told you 2.5 weeks ago that after the 2-week period, I was saying anytime after 2 weeks from now, they could strike. Because that's what my military sources have said. That's what Ray McGovern said. That's what Bob Baer said of the CIA. That's what all of these people came out and said. Of course, I was saying it the day before because I have sources. And Israel's trying to sell the idea of striking Iran. And so I think we should talk about what's going to probably happen if Iran is attacked. They've got polls in Israel. Some polls show 50-50 for and against. Some polls show 70+% against. So it's not just monolithic in Israel. Netanyahu got rid of his Mossad chief, a bunch of other folks earlier in the year because they were saying they're not going along with it. Now, why are they saying that? Why are people that are in Israel and in the government saying it's not a good idea? Why is the U.S. government saying that? And again, our government's really the big mega banks. They're not against wars. They love to bomb stuff and take stuff over. It's because Iran, through proxies, is going to attack Israel on all sides. And the different sides have gotten high-tech weapons out of China and Russia. And 3.5 years ago, you saw in Lebanon, and the Israelis, by the way, have gone back in there, quote, stop rockets. So there's already a force going in there to try to push back, in case there's a full-on war. The Israeli tanks and troops got pushed back, got defeated, because the people they're fighting do have some high-tech weapons. They do have some anti-tank shoulder-fired missiles and other nasty things. And so any way you slice it, the Strait of Hormuz getting closed, I'm going to talk more about it later. This is a very, very serious time. And for those of you still in denial, when neocon groups or pro-war groups or government operatives on the internet come out and attack myself and others and say they're lying, there's no way they're going to attack Iran, no one's saying this, it's crazy. I mean, I noticed 2.5 weeks ago when I said the word is they're getting ready to hit Iran anytime from 2 weeks out. But they want to hit them before the winter comes the next few months. That's what all my guests concurred with me. I've never seen just so many internet attacks, media attacks, the usual suspect attacks, because they're getting the order. By the way, we see this all the time in the IP addresses, because we don't really moderate very much on Infowars and Prison Planet in the comments, except for calls for violence or posting somebody's phone number, and say, here's their house, go after them. We take stuff like that down. But Tim's been trying to get me to do a YouTube video or report about this and show the IP addresses. There'll be one person with 10 different identities having fake conversations with themselves. And it's all government tactics. So we kind of find it interesting as a laboratory. But I think I'm going to start showing the IP address and actually do some reports, because they'll have in 10 different handles conversations with themselves and then say, looks like people are waking up to Alex Jones being a fraud. And it's one guy posing as 10 people. That's government megaphone program, they call it. They also call it sock puppets. I mean, they've admitted for a decade the Pentagon does this. They have hundreds of PR firms hired to do it. And, of course, we've got them after us. That's actually, come out before. But, wow. I mean, it's actually still incredible to see them doing it. So we're going to do some reports on that soon. So come on, trolls. Come on in and show people, because you're also illustrating this for everybody. People commenting on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, they see it too. They can tell by the writing style. And I've done this for years. I don't know why I haven't done a report on it, because it's very interesting to see one person posing as many as 20 people sometimes. But they'll use and all the same IP addresses, because that's what we, at a certain point, we're like, all right, this person has 20 identities, and they're spewing racism all day. Alex is great because he hates black people. Like they'll say stuff like that, so people that come to the site feel like they're not wanted there if they're black. It's all divide and conquer. It's all these tricks. It's all these things. But I saw the biggest push ever that I've ever seen in COINTELPRO and Disinfo when I came out 2.5 weeks ago and said, I guess it was October 13th, and said they've green-lighted an attack on Iran. Now, of course, you have the news today. Israel considers preemptive attack on Iran. Netanyahu goes before Knesset, says he wants to attack. Israel test fires missile. It's all over the news. They're going to probably attack. We are live. It is 11/3/11. I'm Alex Jones, your host. I'm going to mention again the unbelievably powerful lineup of guests and information that we have coming up today. I want to go back through that list for people that are just now joining us here in a moment. Now, continuing here with the situation in Israel, the fact that the system tried to come out and say that used car salesman, marijuana dealer, was going to blow up the Saudi embassy in D.C. The fact that it later came out, even in mainstream news, but buried in the newspaper, that it was anti-Iranian government opposition groups that were in contact with him, and Mexican drug cartels, and all of these former and current government experts came out and said, this is phony, this is an excuse to attack Iran. That's what was happening 2.5 weeks ago. As troops are moved into Kuwait, as the buildup happens, as our military bases go on secret alert. And now Netanyahu goes before the Knesset yesterday and says, I want to hit them. Last Friday, Washington Times reports they've done the prisoner exchange to get rid of their Palestinian prisoners, give up 1,000 of them for one Israeli soldier. All of this is going on. All of this is happening right now in a game of brinksmanship. They're coming in with more sanctions against Iran. Iran is scheduled in the next 2 weeks to load and fuel their reactors and to start purifying uranium. Now, the UN inspectors have been there, and they've said that they can't make weapons with this grade, but there's reportedly coming out next week an IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency report saying that Iran is secretly making fissile material. And Russia and China are protesting, saying the report is a fraud. That was in the news last night and today. This is all happening right now. You've got the fake report of the guy wanting to blow up the Saudi embassy. And you had Congressman King and others saying, hit Iran. It's on. So stop living in denial. Why would the government COINTELPRO want to come out and say there's no danger of Iran being hit? Shut up. It's not happening. It's all made up. Even now as the Israelis, and they were doing this 2.5 weeks ago. Panetta, the defense secretary, came back and said they're getting ready to hit. They're probably going to hit them. They're totally diplomatically isolated. The Washington Times, who's pro-war, talks to insiders last Friday and says Netanyahu wants to be seen as Churchill. He's politically a dead duck right now. He's not going to get reelected. This will get him reelected. And they're all right here in the news. And again, it's not that I get lied about and people say, oh, you know, Jones is crazy, just making it up that there's probably going to be an attack on Iran. I said the green light's been given. It's going to happen unless we expose this plot as a fraud of this Iranian car salesman in South Texas to do all this. Unless this is proven as a fraud now, they're going to use this to attack. And sure enough, it got proven as a fraud. So see, the government's doing two things here. The fact that I get attacked on this, it's not that it worries me that I'm being attacked over it. It shows me just how accurate we are. That they don't want Americans having a debate about the worst war yet of the 5 wars going on. So it's a military tactic, like when they're ramming into the Branch Davidians church with those tanks and saying this is not an assault, come out with your hands up, and they ran out and they mowed them down. We have the flare footage of the guys behind the tanks in an infantry tactic just shooting them and then running over their bodies and then bulldozing them with a Bradley fighting vehicle with a scoop on the front later back into the fire. And the ATF and Army posing with skulls and all the rest of it and blowing the little kids up inside the church records vault. That's the tactic, is we are not assaulting. So we're like, hey, you're getting troops ready. Israel's saying in their newspapers they're getting ready to hit. The U.S. is saying Israel don't attack. And they're moving troops into Kuwait telling them there's about to be an attack. And now you've staged this thing saying Iran was going to do this, clearly as a fake provocation. Hey, folks, they're green-lighting the attack. We better get the word out and stop it. They want to deny this is getting ready to happen so you don't politically put pressure on Washington to stop this. They don't want to debate about hitting Iran or not hitting Iran. They just want us out of the game. They don't want Americans having a debate. Because we've already come 3 times in the last 6-7 years within an inch. In 2007, Dick Cheney, now on record, and he admits it in his new book, ordered Fox Fallon, the head of CENTCOM, to attack, let me say this again, to attack Iran, and he didn't do it and had to resign. Then Cheney wanted to paint up blue patrol boats to attack U.S. ships there in the Gulf as a pretext. This has all come out. And the government said no again. So they're always trying to get this war going, always trying. Iran's almost 80 million people. They've got a lot more high-tech weapons than Iraq had. They weren't under decades and decades of sanctions and inspectors all over their country for 15 years and a bombed-out nation. And it is going to wreak havoc. I mean, they're going to block the Strait of Hormuz. Oil prices are going to explode. It's going to be a political diversion for the banksters to steal more rights and more money and set up checkpoints. They're going to use the Iranian war threat to start setting up the domestic checkpoints. Notice they're rolling out the EAS takeover alert in November 9th. First time ever FEMA and Homeland Security totally take over the media, whether you like it or not. Notice they've got the TV ads, the PSAs, all this stuff rolling, TSA popping up on the street corners, telling you, we're surveilling you. This is all being geared up and prepared for something big. But the globalists aren't going to move with this plan if we have a debate about it and talk about it and point out how it's all a setup. So they just want to treat us like we're idiots and say, there's no talk about hitting Iran. Anybody that says we're going to hit Iran is a crazy conspiracy theorist. But wait a minute, Netanyahu's before the Knesset saying he's getting ready to hit and he's trying to get their support because it's a pretty big deal. No, he's not, Alex. Shut up, conspiracy theorist. But wait, I have AP, I have Sky, I have London Guardian. They all say they're getting ready to hit. Right here, I was right again that they're moving to. And they're like, no, Iran doesn't even exist. I mean, that's basically the mind game they play with us, and that's what really scares me. Is if I would have come out 2.5 weeks ago and said they're green lighting an attack on Iran. Anytime, 2 weeks out and then on from that point, if I wasn't credible, the system wouldn't even care. That's why we know they're getting ready to hit them now. I mean, they're admitting it. We know we've been proven right. So it's that we're so right, we're so accurate, we have our finger on the pulse of the geopolitical system. That's why we're bad. That's why we have to be demonized. November 2011. We're going to be live here for the next 27 hours if you just joined us. I'm going to get into the economy. I'm going to get into U.S. news, world news. I'm going to get into the incredible announcements by the Israeli government that they are getting ready to strike Iran. And I told you 2.5 weeks ago that after the 2-week period, I was saying anytime after 2 weeks from now, they could strike. Because that's what my military sources have said. That's what Ray McGovern said. It says paying with cash suspicious and spy on people's bags in their rooms. I mean, this is beyond the Soviet Union. I mean, is this, you really think we'll be safe? Look at the government at the top. They're a bunch of crooks. Only crooks set up governments like this. And people that work for the government have to ask themselves which side they're on. Stay with us. Big news coming up on Israel. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday, the third day of November. Honorable if somebody, gets in your face to be in control. It's honorable to push an old man's truck up the road instead of just saying, I got better things to do. And see, government is trying to make it where police can't do things like that. All over the country, they've told police, it's come out in the news, don't respond to crime, go revenue generate. Don't help people. Let them help themselves. Because they want the people separate from you. That's what Bob Baer said of the CIA. That's what all of these people came out and said. Of course, I was saying it the day before because I have sources. And Israel's trying to sell the idea of striking Iran. And so I think we should talk about what's going to probably happen if Iran is attacked. They've got polls in Israel. Some polls show 50-50. For and against. Some polls show 70+% against. So it's not just monolithic in Israel. Netanyahu want the people to see you as the enemy because they want us at each other's throats when it's just common sense that what happens in society affects police. Your children go to the same schools as everybody else, same churches, same shopping malls, same shooting ranges, same lakes to go fishing. Do you want to live in a society with microphones in streetlights and they've now announced in hotel rooms saying, watch your neighbor, don't trust anybody, and the hotel guests may be terrorists, and we need